Yes.
So like Sophie said, welcome everyone. This is a joint side event between FAO and GFRAS, the Global Forum for Rural Advisory Services, on experience capitalization, the process, how it can support learning. So we're really happy to have you all here. I'm Ingrid Oliveira. I work as a communications coordinator for GFRAS. And this side event is happening in the context of the 11th GFRAS annual meeting that took place since Monday on how to prepare advisors for the digital era. So in the area of extension, how can we prepare people for this digitalization and e-extension changes, which we know now, with the advent of COVID, that ended up being a very timely topic since we're all much more often working from home, working with digital tools, and having to capture also this experience and this knowledge. So we thought that the topic of experience capitalization would be a good complement to the topic of the meeting, and that's why we are holding together this side event. I would like to pass on the word also to Carl Lassen, who is GFRA's Executive Secretary. He will talk a little bit about what does this mean, why is this important for GFRAS. Just a couple of things again. When you are speaking, we kindly ask you to turn on your camera so we can see you and we can see who you are. And also, like we are saying in the chat, if your name still appears as Sophie Heinen, please change so we can properly identify everyone. So we hope it's a good session. We'll be here for 2 hours, and we'll walk you through this program. Sophie will talk a little bit later about that, but I would like to welcome Carl. Carl, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ingrid, and good morning and good afternoon or good evening to some of you maybe. I know I was in a meeting yesterday with the North American and South American people, and I know they wanted to call in, but it's 4 a.m. in the morning. So we are waiting for the recorded. This is the problem when we are working globally. We can't find a spot where everybody can be in, but for all of you who is here, welcome very much. This is a joint side event between FAO and the Global Forum for Rural Advisory Services, GFRAS. And we ventured into working with FAO on experience capitalization because we know internally GFRAS is a network. For the ones of you who doesn't know, it's a network of 18 regional and sub-regional networks throughout the globe. And we have worked with FAO with mainly one of our networks, which is called GFRAS, which is for the Caucasus region, but also our European networks have been part of this. And basically we opened it up to the globe. So we saw a very high subscription to this, which shows there's a lot of demand out there. We know internally in our organization, our NGO, that we need to be better at knowledge management and capturing lessons learned and use that for storytelling. And the recent external evaluation really showed that we have been weak in documenting our impact. And I think this is a general challenge for many of us, that we are so busy implementing, so busy doing things, that we forget to in a systematical way capture what did we actually do, what did we learn, not only for ourselves, but also for others to learn from it. And we have seen that the tool developed here called Experience Capitalization is a very strong, very easy to use tool to help you in doing exactly that. So we have now tested it in Central Asia and in Europe, but we would like to see that our networks throughout the globe takes up this methodology and use it. And we hope that it will help locally, and so do the local experience capturing that we can use at the global level to do shared knowledge, which is very important for GFRAS. When you have a good idea in one part of the world, how can that be captured and shared with your colleagues and peers throughout the world? So we really make best use of the resources, that our joint resources, to get the synergies and the knowledge sharing that is so essential for an institution like GFRAS and for an institution like FAO. So we are really thrilled that you are coming in, and I can see the numbers keep rising. So welcome all the ones coming in. And I hope that this is only the first step in a long journey of spreading this very good tool, this very good methodology that can help all of us in capturing the knowledge that we are gaining every day, but very often forget to capture. So very much thank you from our side, and a big thank you to FAO for this collaboration and for setting up this side event. Over to you, Sophie.
Thank you very much, Carl. My name is Sophie Treinen. I'm working for FAO in the regional office for Europe and Central Asia. It has been a pleasure to actually run this course with GFRAS. So first I will just go through quickly through the agenda of today. So for some who don't know what is experience capitalization, we will explain this very soon. We'll also tell you what was this blended learning program, and as we want to learn the lessons, draw them, we will actually do this with a facilitator, Botir Dosov, a learner. Then we will also talk about how this worked and what we have learned from it. So we will have also question and answers. We will give you the opportunity to see, having heard all this experience being shared, how you would apply this in your work. And then we will give you also some more tips for the next steps. So without further ado, let me tell you how this started. So the next slide is showing that actually this collaboration with GFRAS and FAO on experience capitalization date back in 2015, when we were in Kyrgyzstan for GFRAS annual meeting, which focus was good practices. And at that time, FAO was working on template, trying to see what were the different approaches from different partners. And between 2015 and 2019, we had the course, e-learning course on experience capitalization, which was translated in several languages, and Russian is one of them. And this was quite a good way to actually involve the people from Central Asia and Caucasus. And we had this meeting last year in Ankara. And at that meeting, we decided, let's do something concrete. And this is how we have this blended learning program this year, which is the result of this collaboration. In the next slide, you will see that experience capitalization, it's not something new, it's something that existed already a long time ago. There are many publications on this. And all the partners, all these different publications help us in actually doing this blended learning course and course. So what is experience capitalization? I will share with you a short video which will explain what is experience capitalization.
Is experience capitalization? It's a systematic process. We do this experience capitalization naturally. But if you want to do it well, you need to do it systematically. So it's a systematic process. It's also participatory. You need to have people involved. Of course, there are people doing their own capitalization exercise, but then you don't have the views and the perspective of everybody. This process enables to actually analyze an experience, to document it. This creates knowledge. This knowledge is being shared to generate change. And so we have our cycle. And we have here 6 benefits. The first one is the learning aspect. So you increase your learning by doing. That's what we do. But also what is interesting is that you are learning about how you learn. And therefore, it's good to step back and to have to allow ourselves this reflection time. So this is an important aspect. So you increase learning, you avoid knowledge loss. So instead of reinventing the wheel all the time, if you're doing experience capitalization, you are going to be able to know, okay, what works well, but also what doesn't work so well. And we are learning from failures. So failing is not an issue. The issue is that when you're repeating failing and you don't say anything about it because you don't want people to know about it. But people, rather strangely, when you ask people about what worked, they say, "Hey, what didn't work?" Because they want to avoid making the same mistakes. So this is how you also avoid your knowledge loss and how you will then therefore increase your efficiency and effectiveness because you have learned from what you have been doing, you have been analyzing what you have been doing, you're not reinventing the wheel, you have looked at what works, what doesn't work, and you try to find solutions for not repeating the same mistakes. And this will enable you to generate change because this you will find new ways of doing things, or you will have analyzed how you were doing things and you're going to see how do you have to improve for the future. It will enable to replicate things, to adopt, others can adopt things, to adapt what you're doing, and also to scale up. So it could be geographically, but it can be also scaling up, going from an experience to a policy. And because this is a participatory process, because you have people involved, when you do that and when it is anchored into your work, this also enables you to increase the team building. It's a really team building exercise. You have better teams, they understand how they work together, and they know how they can work better together so that they can also achieve more things. And when you have done this experience capitalization process, you have, of course, very good products. You have excellent documents. And these documents, in a certain way, this enables to show what you have been doing. So it's your visibility. You're able to communicate better inside, internally, but also externally. So this helps you also to do the advocacy. And so you're better prepared, you communicate better, so better advocacy and better visibility. So these are really the big benefits of doing experience capitalization.
So this is what I wanted to show you about experience capitalization. And now I'm going to show you how we reached the present e-learning course. So you see that from the e-learning that we started after the Kyrgyzstan GFRAS annual meeting, we had the course available in English, then in French, in Spanish, and then in Russian. Many partners and more partners are joining us, and we are very happy for that. And then we had this blended learning program, and I will give the floor now to Daria, who is going to guide us through the platform for those who have not had the chance to enter it. Daria, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Just give me a second to share my screen, and I'm going to give you a look into what my screen looks like. That wasn't a part of it, but yes, mainly the course itself. So I'm Daria, as Sophie said, and I was the instructional designer for this course. For those of you who don't know, I put this course together, and that's what my job is. So let's just have a quick look at it and see what's in there and what we put in there and what we wanted people to pay attention to. So the course was and is still on the Moodle platform, and it's a blended course that has a lot of different features that we put in there. So for example, this is the main page where we talk about what it is, what we want from you, what this course is about. We're giving you some tips and tutorials on how to use it. We introduce ourselves as a training team and ask you to introduce yourself as a learner, so we know who we work with and what are people's interests and things like that. There are 6 modules in this course that are dedicated to different parts of experience capitalization process. And as an example, let's go through one of the modules so we can see what's in there. There are obviously learning objectives, since we want you to know what you're going to be learning and be prepared for the content that we prepared for you. They're interactive lessons, and those are my favorite part. For example, they're so fun and they're so interactive, and you can play with them, and there's so many different tasks that you can do and different perspectives prepared for you for this course to be more engaging, more fun, and more interesting for you. There are also learner's notes, which are the same thing as interactive lessons, but in PDF format. We know that internet connection isn't always the best, and we never know when we're going to have it or not. So if the internet connection doesn't support your interactive lesson, always download things in PDF, and that would be your way to still get content that you need. There are discussion forums where we want people to meet each other and talk to each other and just get to know each other better and review each other's work and support each other in this process of learning. There are tests that we prepared. So there are 6 modules and 6 tests that you need to pass for you to get a badge that would certify that you went through the course and earned your degree. I'm going to show that in just a bit. We also organized webinars for each module to answer learners' questions, and all of the links and recordings are stored in the course so you can watch them afterwards. And there are assignments that are based on job aids, and that were created so that as you go through the learning process, you can prepare your own case, your own capitalization experience process, depending on what you're working on. What else is there? Oh yeah, there you go. This is one of our straight A students, Wencio. You're gonna hear from her in a little bit, and this is how her profile looks like, and all of these badges show that she passed successfully all of the tests that we put in the course and got the super badge. It's like in a different color that she can now share on LinkedIn or whatever platform that she wants to use to certify that she went through this course, and we get the degree. So yeah, as a part of the course, we also did a final evaluation, since learning is an iterative process and we want to make the course better, and hence asked you to fill out this form so that we know what to change, what you like and what you didn't like. In case you haven't done that and you were in the course, please do that. And obviously, one of the most fun parts of the course was the mentorship process that we did in the summer, where we supported learners on a one-on-one basis through the webinars and emails and things like that, where we also organized discussion forums and mentoring workshops, and in the end of the day got all of the experiences and all of the capitalized recorded experiences that you're going to hear about later in this presentation. So that's about it from me. Thank you, Sophie, and I'll give the floor back to you.
Thank you very much, Daria, for this presentation and to guide us through the platform. So now I would like to see whether Botir Dosov is with us. As you may see, there are many participants who are called Sophie Treinen. I kindly ask you to actually click on the 3 dots if you appear as Sophie Treinen, to actually rename yourself with your own name. And this way we will see whether Botir is with us or not. And in case he is not, then I will make the presentation for him. So please, can you rename yourself if you're not Sophie Treinen? Thank you. So Botir, are you with us? Apparently, Botir is being in another meeting. Botir has been our facilitator for the Russian course. And he is now working in the Ministry of Agriculture, working on AKIS, which is the Agricultural Knowledge and Innovation Systems. And Botir is the chairperson of the Central Asia and Caucasus Forum for Advisory Services. And Botir has been also a key person because he did the adaptation of the e-learning course on experience capitalization into Russian for the GFRAS members. And because he valued experience capitalization as one of the cross-cutting dimensions in horizontal and vertical rural advisory services, whether they're public, private, and their public-private partnership. So I would like then to go through what are the lessons from Botir and for GFRAS. So the GFRAS was created a few years ago, and experience capitalization has been part of many of the meetings. And Botir has highlighted 3 of them. The first one in 2016 in Bishkek, then the one that we had also in Kyrgyz Republic in 2018, and then the workshop in Ankara that I mentioned also in the presentation, and which gave life to this blended learning course. The next slide, why is experience capitalization recognized as an in-demand approach? In the Caucasus and Central Asia, agriculture extension services are not always well developed. And it's important that the country seeks for experience from other countries and also for their own experience. When we are talking about experience capitalization, we try to embed it in the full project cycle because it's not to do it at the end, but to really think as from the beginning that you have to incorporate experience capitalization. The reason now that the course is available and you can actually have it as learner's notes, you can have it in face-to-face, because Botir and we have had a few workshops in Central Asia where we were able to test it with participants. So now this methodology is being known. And the next slide, please. It's being known, but not still broadly applied in the region. And there are reasons for that. This is new, and people prefer to use the way they are doing it traditionally. And also one of the other reasons for which it's not broadly applied, it's because the managers, the decision makers are not always aware of experience capitalization, or they don't understand what will be the benefits that we presented to you a few minutes ago. And therefore, they forgot to integrate it in the planning. But we are sure that in Caucasus and Central Asia, even if people prefer face-to-face workshop than online, that now with COVID, we will be able to have more people joining. And I'm quite happy to say that we had good participation from our colleagues from this region. Now, what do we need to do to apply it? It needs more effort and broader efforts to promote experience capitalization. So we need more workshops. We need to have more awareness, and this side event is one of them. And we would like to also have the certification of trainers. And this is possible now because of this course. Daria explained that you could have your certification with the badge. And this is just proving that you have gone through the whole process. Of course, we need to mobilize funds to have further face-to-face, and we hope soon when this COVID crisis will be over. So as Bautier wrote, just keep going. Beginning is always difficult, but this course and this participation is a good start. So this was the experience from the facilitator. And now I would like to pass the floor to Jorge, who is going to present us a learner.
Yeah, thank you, Sophie, and good morning, everybody. My name is Jorge Chavez Tafur. I've been working with Sophie in this very interesting experience throughout this year, also in the past. What I would like to do is to invite a few of those people who have been key players in the whole process as learners, and to hear from them a little bit of what the experience was about. As you know, we've been working throughout the year. We went through the different, we used the different tools that Daria explained, and we did a different set of, of steps, all of them involved in the process. One of the persons who went through all of them, I would say, and who got a badge with it was Wengxiu Li. And I would like to invite her to tell us a little bit about this process and how it was and what it meant for her. Wengxiu?
Hi everybody, I'm here. Thank you for the introduction. I was wondering how I finished all the parts. Is more maybe because I might have more free time compared to other learners. Yeah.
Maybe, but you were involved from the very beginning. And something that we could see in the registers is that you got this super badge, which meant that you had gone through the test and you had gone through using the training material. How did you experience that, apart from, well, as you say, having time?
Yeah, actually those tests are not hard. It consists of 20 exercises for every test. They are not hard. So if you have gone through all the lessons, you can figure out those answers. And mainly, I think my participation mainly includes some interactive lessons. However, usually it has fixed time. So sometimes I had problem participating. So I took the learner's notes mentioned by Daria. And it's also good, very good learning material. What I think it benefits is the assignments attached to the end of every module. So I can really use the tools provided by the class. And also then I took all the mentoring webinars. So it's more like a special guide for you to really document a specific experience. So that's how I got through all the process.
And you were doing many of these things on your own during your time, downloading, following, doing the test, but you also interacted, as you say, with the other participants in those sessions that we had where you were able to discuss and also share your experience with others. How did you see this?
I think during the mentoring session, there's more group work. So we had a common Google document that we can see everybody's progress. For example, I was in the agriculture extension group. So we have maybe seven 7 group members, so we can all see how what are the others' case and how was their progress, and we can also discuss our questions and progress. So that was a really good experience that we do this together. So it's better, it's easier for us to keep up.
Great. And we can see here on the screen what we could say your final product. This is your article. Yeah, perhaps a silly question, but are you happy with this?
I really liked it.
Yes.
Yes, because I noticed that it was really good work from our editor and also graphic designer. So it looks much more articulated and also better designed.
Yeah, and you're going to share it, of course, with everybody.
Yes, and I'm really happy that during the process, it's not only my job, but also as I was documenting a case from a local NGO, so I had very frequent communication with them, sharing the details of the experience, and it's more like a co-production of the work. So I will share with them first, and hopefully it can benefit people in this sector.
Of course. Thanks a lot. Thank you. I think you've been raising many of the things we're showing that the ideas that Sophie presented at the very beginning actually taken place. Now, the idea that this is a participatory process, that you've been involving different people and working together with different people. And then also that this is, where perhaps I'm repeating myself, that this is a process. It involves different steps and different phases, and you go one after the other, perhaps sometimes going backwards, sometimes going forward, but involving different ideas in order to come to the final product, which we can see here, one of them. But of course, there is much more, because it is the ideas that you've raised and that you can now, you and others, put into practice. Great.
Yeah.
If we go to the next slide, we can see a bit what Wenxiu has been mentioning already, that this is a process involving different steps, and we try to articulate the course covering each one of these steps, and then focusing in detail, what do you do, starting by planning and preparing the whole set of activities, and then of course ending with the idea that we have a product that we can share, and that it is not just stored in a library, but that we can actually make sure that the lessons are used, are put into practice, so as it says here, to generate change. So I would like to invite a few persons now also to share a few ideas about these different steps. And I would like to start with Valentin Nagy telling us a little bit about the preparation, which as we've been discussing, preparing means not just saying what are we going to be doing and how are we going to be doing, but perhaps the most important part is, well, selecting what are we going to be talking about. We're in experience capitalization, so framing the whole process and selecting your own experience. So Valentin, share with us a few words.
Thank you, Jorge. Yes, so my case is about a small part of the office work that we come across during this specific course, actually, which is mail merging. Mail merging is a method when you can address participants by their names instead of general words such as colleagues or participants or whatsoever. And the reason I decided to have capitalize this experience is it took us a rather long process to figure out how to do this, how to proceed with it. And I had to collect this information from different sources, and at the end, we realized that there is no exact guide in this regard available for anyone who might be interested in this. So firstly, we described the challenge we were facing, and the challenge was that participants didn't really reply to our emails because those were generic emails. Once we figured out that if we address them by their names, we can gather more feedback from them, which was necessary for the evaluation process, for example. Therefore, once we realized who would be the audience, which would be, in this case, mostly FAO colleagues, but other people as well who might be interested in this, as especially in COVID times, we tend to send more bulk emails. There is a lot of online communication due to the conferences and other things are being organized online. Therefore, it's necessary to have the connection between us kept. And yeah, basically, once we realized what we want to capitalize and who would benefit from this capitalized experience and the case itself, then I could start preparing a guide, which would be my end product.
Great, thank you. Thank you. I like it. You're raising again important issues here, that you're not just writing about anything, or you're not just starting a process about anything, but something which you are actually responding to a problem. You have a problem that you want to find out how to solve it. So then you start such a process around it. And then, of course, thinking that the lessons that you're going to be identifying with this comprehensive analysis are going to be useful for somebody. So you select from the very beginning, who are you going to be, let's say, supporting or contributing to by doing this exercise. And this is, of course, perhaps the most important part at this very beginning. Not just going and writing about anything because, well, you have a very broad experience, but something which you want to find solutions, which you want to improve, which you want to, as Sophie was saying, this generation of change. Great. After we select and we have this case experience, then we need to describe it in detail, and we need to collect a lot of information and say what we did around it, what results we found. But then we come to a step which sometimes is a bit tricky, which is that of the analysis. Considering that with this exercise, we don't just want to describe a case, but we want to analyze it. We want to understand it. We want to identify what about it, the lessons that are going to be useful. So I would like to invite Natalia Andreeva to tell us a little bit about this analysis. You went through this, you tried it, we discussed it in these sessions we had. How did it go?
Hi, everybody. We appreciated very much the webinars of capitalization of experience. Everything was clear, and we are glad to learn in Russian, which is very important. And what was good that only I complete this program, but I can share my knowledge and materials with my colleagues, which is very important also. What is our academy is a vocational training education organization, and why we used in capitalization of experience, our experience for training of beginner farmers. And when in this process of analysis, we understood that analysis is a core of experience capitalization program. Many times, it is not first time when you learn about our experience. We monitor and evaluated our experience of training for farmers, but we never use the analysis that help deeply find strengths and weaknesses of trainings. We describe it, what we are doing, always, but never ask it why. Why you are doing this? And what is the result of this? What is the feedback of this training? And what is very useful and valuable for us, we learned the new methods which I used for analysis and try to use them in practice. And I would like to say it was not easy. Many methods was new for us, but it also helped us to be trained a new experience. When we start to analyze the experience, we found the information what you didn't consider it as important for effectiveness of trainings. For example, how many farmers use the knowledge of trainings in practice. You never evaluate this. We never monitor this. You never made the comparison between beginner farmers who were trained in the academy and others who didn't participate in our trainings. Who are better? Why these people are trained and they are working better or not? They really have the good start or successful start in comparison with others, or just they study and nothing used. So using the analysis, we can easily find lesson learned and propose the recommendations for change and improvement of effectiveness of trainings. As we found from our side, I can say the analysis is a good investment in the future because it develop our effectiveness. And I wrote the short, small articles of our experience, and you can find in this article which recommendations we can use for our development and also for us, our colleagues who are also trained beginners farmers.
Great, thank you. Thank you. I think you've summarized very well what the importance of the analysis is and what does it mean. As you started saying, it is asking ourselves why. It is not just saying the result, but saying why did we have these results? What were the factors that contributed to it? And what were therefore the strengths and the weaknesses in our approach? And I think that's crucial. And I like it very much that you emphasize that this analysis is what brings you the lessons that you can share, the lessons that you can then put into practice. Many times, perhaps because it is a little bit, well, I wouldn't say difficult, but we do it less often, then we feel that, yeah, we cannot go through this, or we find it more complicated, or we don't dare to do it. And the result is that we don't produce the lessons that we really want. But at the end of the day, what we want is the lessons, isn't it? And that comes, as you say, from by putting extra attention into this step. Thanks a lot. Once we have the lessons and once we have the story very clearly analyzed, we need to put it in a certain way so that we can share it. Because these lessons are not only going to be for us, they are also going to be for our colleagues. They are also going to be for other people working in another organization, perhaps, or in another country. So that's when we start thinking, okay, we need to put it all together and we need to come with a nice document that we can easily share. We've been doing this also. Well, the participants have been doing this. And then you can see here some of the very nice results, which not only look nice, but also have a lot of the content and a lot of the lessons in them. Now, this is, of course, something that takes a bit of effort. I would like to ask Sofia Burtak, to tell us a little bit about this, what you're seeing on the screen. This as a final document, but of course, part of the process. Tell us.
Thank you, Jorge, and hello to all the participants. I would share a big pain of preparing of this document, as yes, it needs the effort. And when we started to do the analysis, we choose all of participants somehow choose what they experience, what they want to analyze. And you know, in my case, I went through the process of choosing the training evaluation tool, which I was trying to implement and using and testing for 2 years. And then I had to generalize the experience. But when it came to writing the article, again, I had to go very narrow and concrete, because to describe the impact or success factors, you have to go to the real cases to prove how this experience really influenced the people. So that's the hard work you have to somehow implement into the document, which actually can talk to other people. Because usually when we know about our own experience, somehow we understand why it's influential, or some part of the analysis we can do ourselves. But how to make it spectacular, or how to put it in the paper that other people can understand the same way as we are thinking, this is already the challenge. And for my own experience, the latest couple of weeks, that was struggling with putting the proper words. And I'm really happy I was supported, mentored, and actually I was facilitated finally by the editor, who just gave me really good whys. For example, my sentence ending for myself, it's ending in this place. But then editor is asking, but why this happened? And again, you have to go one more time and explain in proper way how the other people can absorb the same point of view. So to my mind, to have this kind of tool present, not only analyzing and going through the experience, but then presenting this as the document, helps to sort out, helps to make it more easy to digest for the more people than only your team. Even sharing with your own team is not enough, because people are working with you together. They are very often in the same box. And when some outside people are looking on that, it helps to give more argument or go deeper into some experiences which seems more important or more spectacular, or really make an interest. So in my case was the training evaluation, but the trainings on development of organizations. Usually it's very boring part when you have to put the farmers in the room and then teach them how to make the proper good governance tools, and how to make the decisions, and how to make the financial analysis. Everything of that seems very, very tough. And we found that there are a lot of resistance to this part of the trainings. But then we started to be more patient to the measuring and giving more practical tips. And when we started to measure the results, like before and after training, and making more sustainably the consultations with implementing those tools, that start working. Like the financial tool to see the whole picture as scorecard. It seems to be used in the big organizations, in the companies. But when you are very, let's say, step by step, and you are inside the board each time they try to use this tool, it becomes their tool. They put the indicators which talk to them. If you are consistent in the way how you are teaching people, and then you are there to help them with using these tools, even the big financial issues like analyzing the balance sheet or preparing the budget becomes more easier to digest the information or knowledge. And then when we started documentation, that was the question, which are success factors and which are constraints. For me, it was also a very important part, because I understood that constraints can be when people didn't study for many years and they are farming, they are into very practical part of their life, they are producing the food. And then their level of the education or literacy level can be constrained to implement this kind of organizational development, economic trainings. But at the same time, I've seen the successes we get through those last 2 years, because numbers talk. And with analyzing the trainings before, after, we analyze how people are using the knowledge, if they are practicing the skills, and if this part is practical. And numbers said that more and more through year to year, people say that they use the instruments we gave them, and then they we can actually conclude by ourselves now as the outside of the box that our trainings are practical, even though it seems very theoretical team, like developing the cooperatives for the producers, or making the tools to analyze the performance. It seems on the first glance that is very theoretical. But if we have the proper tool to analyze the training, we can conclude, and in my this fact sheet that is in the screen, I can conclude now that our trainings are practical. We have the team of multidimensional trainers who are supporting and actually very constantly supporting step by step the implementing of those hard topics to the like strategical even topics to the little producer corps in Ukraine. So this is how my documentation works, and how I try to sort out. And actually, thank you to the editor who stand with me for all this process.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. I think you're raising again and linking to what the previous presenters have said, that how important it is to select the experience, because you're going to be producing lessons that are going to be also used by others. How important it is to involve different people throughout the process, showing what Sophie was mentioning, that it is meant to be a participatory process. You've mentioned how crucial it is to think of who will be reading your document and to present the document in a way that can be, well, made the best by them. No? So you have to think of this, like Valentin was saying, I'm going to be working with this target group in mind. So that comes very clearly back when you're writing your story and putting it in a nice way, that it has to be presented very well. And I think that you've been very successful in that sense. And then, of course, you mentioned the important role of the editor, who has been helping you in this case, making sure that this comes up the way you want it. So if we would like to hear from the editor, we would like to hear what happened, how was it, and what do we think of this? May we?
Yes, hello everybody. Hello. So my name is Claire Pedrick, and I've been in touch with some of you, those of you who've been documenting your good practice fact sheets. Unfortunately, for obvious reasons, it's all been remotely, but on this occasion. But anyway, I hope it's been effective. So my job is really to put the finishing touches to all your excellent and hard work. And I know how much hard work that is. It's really not an easy process, this. And so I thought it might be helpful to share some feedback of the fact sheets that I've seen so far, to see the kind of things that are missing and the few sort of errors that have been made. They're not really errors, but anyway, they're sort of common hurdles that can be overcome. And for that reason, I've compiled a few tips for you, so that when you're trying to document your good practices in the future, or if it's still an ongoing process, it might save you some time and anguish, I hope. And it might also mean that you don't get so many annoying emails from me in the future, which would be, I'm sure, very welcome on your part. So here we go. Could I have the next slide, please? The first thing to bear in mind is that you're telling a story. And it's a story that you know very well because you're involved in this experience, but other people will not be familiar with this. So in very simple terms, try and tell that story and explain what happened. And you need to think about five points here. What happened? Why did it happen? How did it happen? When and where did it happen? And if you can tell that story even verbally and then put that down in writing, you'll realize that you have made an enormous first step, because some of the fact sheets that I did read, or the reports in some cases, it was really hard to get at what had happened. And so if you could just ask yourself those 5 questions, tell the story as though you're talking to someone, I think you'll find that it all becomes a lot easier. So can we have the next slide, please? The next thing to bear in mind is that you need to make it a good story, and it's one that people want to read. You know, everyone's busy, but you want this story to be shared, don't you? So try and make it engaging. And even the driest story, I mean, some of these experiences are more interesting than others, but even the driest experience can become interesting if you tell it in an engaging way. And I'll give you some ideas about how to do that. So could we have the next slide, please? Now, a very good way of bringing even the most abstract idea and concept to life is to bring in a human angle, bring in a human touch. And that means finding case studies featuring real people who have been affected maybe by this experience. It's had some impact on them, or they've been involved in some way. And if you look at the fact sheets that we've compiled so far, I always try to tease out a little box which homes in on some real person. And for that, you need to give their full names. They have to be credible and explain how this experience has involved them. And if possible, use some live quotes, just 1 or 2 sentences from them. It all helps to bring the story to life. Okay, could we have a next slide, please? Thank you. Now, a lot of, or several anyway, of these fact sheets are making claims, obviously, about the impact that they've had. I mean, that's part of the purpose. But if you're making a claim, you must back it up. Otherwise, it's not going to have any credibility. And that means facts and figures. The more facts and figures that you have, the better. They've obviously got to be based on evidence. So, for example, if you're saying that crop yields have been increased because of a certain practice, then you need to say, well, they doubled or they tripled from X to Y over a period of Z years. You need to give some sort of credible evidence. Okay, the next slide, please. Now, you are working to a template, most of you, and you'll see that there are 2 sections in particular. One is results and one is impact. And I found there was quite a lot of confusion between the 2. So for future reference, the results are the shorter term ones and the impact is the longer term. And it's quite important that you try very hard to fill out the sections for each. Next slide, please. This seems very obvious, but it is really helpful if you can follow this template, because it brings together all the information that we need. And then please do check that you've fully answered all those sections. The next slide, please. So you all know your experiences back to front, probably inside out and back to front, but no one else does. The people you're writing for do not. So please don't ever assume prior knowledge of anything that you're writing about, the events that you're referring to, the circumstances, or any technical terms, because the reader is not likely to be familiar with them. So if you're in any doubt at all, explain. Next slide. This is maybe a minor point, but it's also rather important. So quite a few of the fact sheets are scattered with acronyms, which is very distracting for a reader, and especially if we don't know what they mean. So could you please spell them out and then put the acronym in brackets afterwards? So for example, if you're talking about FAO, it's the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, and afterwards you refer to it as FAO, but please keep them to a minimum. Next slide, please. Often on this template, the validation section is very, very sort of sparsely populated. This is quite a difficult one, and obviously it depends what stage your experience is at, but please do think carefully about any information you could possibly insert here. And the next slide, please. And last but not least, as you've seen from some of these fact sheets that we've already compiled, it's really important to have good illustrations. That helps to bring it to life as well. So please do try and look for and send us some very good quality and high resolution photos or any other graphics you think might be relevant, including a clear map to show your geographical area. And those should be attached separately. Thank you very much indeed, and nice working with all of you.
Thank you very much, Claire. I think this is fantastic because this is also showing that in some of the lessons, and specifically the one on documenting, we are making all these tips available, and you did it very nicely here. So I will just say to people, go to the course, go to the documentation section. There are little treasure which are hidden in it, such as how can you write really well. Claire, There is something else that I would like to ask you, because you have had the opportunity to do write-shops face-to-face, and this time you had to do it remotely. So I would like to hear from you, what is your takeaway from this experience?
Well, I think it's been a very positive experience, but obviously it's different from when you can also meet in a physical way. And as you say, I've done both. And I do think there is a very strong case for at least starting the process off with a physical meeting. Clearly that's not possible at the moment, and who knows when it will be possible again. But I do think it helps to make that social contact, which then enables you to move forward and to build that relationship as you go along. And there's more sense of trust between people. So I do think that a physical face-to-face contact is helpful, and who knows when that will be possible.
Thank you so much, Claire. I do agree with you. We need to build the trust, and doing it remotely is not easy. However, we will do our best, because we know that we have to live like this for a few more months. So now we have reached the stages of generating change, enabling to adopt, adapt, scale up, or mainstreaming this experience capitalization within the own organization. And I would like to invite Petrit, who has been documenting something on digital agriculture. Actually, Louis and Petrit have been working on digital agriculture. As we are running out of time, I'm afraid that I won't have the possibility to hear back from Louis, but I propose Petrit, who has a case documented fully now with the graphic design, to explain us why it did so in this perspective of scaling up, adoption, adaptation. Thank you. The floor is yours, Petrit.
Thank you, Sophie. I'll take short. Actually, we are working on drafting the strategy for digital agriculture in Albania, supported by FAO. This process, of course, includes screening of infrastructure, knowledge, legal framework, and it also includes identification and documentation of good practices related to digital agriculture in Albania. Our practice is one of identified, and we thought that this experience could be replicated in other parts of Albania. This was the main reason we have chosen this case. Hello?
We can hear you very well.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you didn't hear?
We can hear you. You can continue.
Okay, okay. So what we have taken in consideration to choose this case, I may say that first we prefer to select an initiative that was coming directly from the farmer himself and not from any other development project, because to my experience, when we choose a case that has been supported by a project, probably we are mistaking, we are not selecting the right person, because we need innovators, and innovators are not those pushed by projects. Innovators are those who are looking somewhere abroad, looking for new experience, new technologies, and want to implement. This was one of criteria. The other criteria we have chosen is the size of the farm. So it's very important the size of the farm to be, let's say, an average size. So this could be in this way replicable practices. And the size of the farm we have chosen is the average. In Albania, we have very small farms, 1.2 hectares, and split it in several pieces. So it's not so easy to find big farms. And this case was a small one. So he started with 2,000 meters square greenhouse and arrived to 3,000 meters square. So it's a surface reachable by any farmer. Another criteria was the investment. Is this investment affordable by everybody? So if we see this experience that took a long time, so it started 2003 until now, he invested a lot of money, 800,000 euros. But this has been done step by step. So he has chances to work with the banks. He got loans from the banks, and he paid back the loans, increased his business, and so on. But of course, we are in the other situation now, and we have other opportunities for farmers. So there are other opportunities as EPART, for example, instrument of pre-accession for rural development of the European Union, that can support such investments, so can faster the change. Another criteria was the technology to be simple and applicable by farmer and his family, or workers in some cases. Because if we introduce very high sophisticated digital technology, it is very difficult to be replicated by small farmers who are working not with hired experts, but they are working with their family. So this is more or less the reasons we have chosen this case as a good case, good practice. Hello?
Yes, maybe we can move to the next slide so that we can see a little bit what is the case about. Yes.
Okay, so the case in this case is linked with the producing seedlings. So why he become a real businessman with such small surface? Because he have chosen the right technology, the right production. The production of seedlings is very efficient activity in agriculture. So he started from a good point with small surface, and you cannot get enough money if you start with extensive productions. This is one of solutions he have taken, good choices he has made at the beginning of his business. Okay, we may go on with the other slide. Yeah, this is the story of his, let's say, steps. He started in 2003, but he step by step is improving technologies. At the beginning, he started just with a heating system and controlling the environment, temperature and humidity. Later on, he automized the airflow and control of humidity and temperature. And later on, he introduced other equipment, better, let's say, heating system, some machineries to for producing, let's say, seedlings. And at the end, he ended with, let's say, the last investment 2-3 years ago was on digital control of spraying, remote control of spraying of seedlings. Spraying, I mean watering, but also feeding, and sometimes for disease control, spraying with different pesticides. Next slide, please. Okay, this is one of machineries he bought some years ago, but also he is continuing in this way. So he's continuing improving every day. The last changes he made is just investing in some water tanks in order to collect water from the rain, that is very clean water to use for heating system. Okay, next slide, please, Sophie. Yeah, I think this is a very good case, because this technology can be replicated not only for nurseries, not only for those who are producing seedlings, but also for farmers who are producing vegetables. And what happened? He was growing, introducing technology. Some people working for him, they left because he automized several processes. But these people, they didn't go anywhere else to work, but they started their business. They start producing vegetables, having another links with him.
Okay, I think that we're losing Patrick.
I think around him now we have a group working and following him with the technology.
Okay, thank you very much, Petrit. We are now going to hear from Jorge with what we have achieved with this blended learning course. Over to you, Jorge.
Thanks again, Sophie. Very shortly, as we've been hearing, we've been going through a whole process during the last few months. We've been running this from February until now, and of course we are still continue because the cases are still going to be shared. We had a total of 670 registered participants in English, which was much more than what we had expected at the beginning, and 110 of them in Russian. All of them went through, well, most of them went through the 6 modules, which included what Daria said and explained at the beginning, the interactive lessons, the notes, the discussion forum. There were tests for which you could get a badge, of course, if you passed them all the tests. Then we had webinars, a different one of them, and the assignments and the homework that we had, and the job aids that could be used for them. After this, we had 5 mentoring webinars with 125 persons participating in them, and what Wengxiu mentioned, no? We try to make them as interactive as possible, having group discussions, having a possibility of different participants sharing with each other and writing together different documents and exchanging what about their own particular experience. And then we also had one-to-one mentorship sessions by which we try to focus in detail in each one of the cases that were being analyzed and described. At the moment, we have 14 articles. Some are already ready. You have seen some of them. And then, of course, these are, okay, not just going to be published, but these are going to be shared widely with the idea, of course, that we are going to encourage people to use the lessons that are there. No, the whole point of the exercise is not just to publish, but the point is to have to see the change in the practices taking place in the field. If we go to the next one. Yeah, in terms of soft skills, of course, we can say that we have products, and that's very nicely. But I think that the results are much more in terms of, for example, the awareness of how this process works, of what the benefits it brings, not just in those who have been directly involved in the process, but perhaps all of you, all of us who are hearing about it. I think that the more awareness it is, the better it is in focusing on how to present a case, how to draw the lessons, and how to try to use them. I think we have been focusing a lot on the skills to go through these different steps in process. You've been hearing some of them are easier, some of them are a bit more difficult, and we need the skills to go through them and to do it correctly. And I think that we've been, I think we can see a lot of that in terms of results. Another important one is this idea of networking, and that has already been mentioned also, that if this is a participatory process, we work together with others. And I think that that can be very useful, getting to know other people who are doing similar things, other people who are experiencing similar difficulties within the group of persons going through experience capitalization, but also with your colleagues, in the sense that you are getting to know them better. You can be understanding how they go about their own work. You can share a few more ideas. I think that's also perhaps difficult to measure and to quantify, but to me, this is a very clear result of these efforts. And of course, that goes with the last point, this idea of inspiring each other. If I see somebody presenting a case, and if I see somebody emphasizing a particular point, that can also be very useful for me because I get ideas. And I think this sort of inspiring each other, learning what we are all doing, again, very difficult to measure and to put a number, but to me, very clear in terms of results. Sophie?
Yes, what have we learned? So time is a constraint, and we understand that. It is a constraint for the learners because they need to find the time. And also it's us to find the right frequency for webinars. These require a good planning process so that we inform participants in advance which day we are going to do what. And also for the assignments that they clearly understand what has to be done. we also realize that it is important to get commitments from the learners as from the beginning. Because some people started but then drop. And when we see the amount of human resources behind the screens to make this course happen, it is a lot of effort, a lot of money, and we need also to have some return over the investment. And therefore, it's important that we have committed people, maybe not such a large group, but a smaller group with good results. And also what we have understood is that the mentoring webinars, they went quite well. People really appreciated that. And we were able to have the articles being produced because of these mentoring webinars. And we have done this one-to-one mentorship also to move further. And this was quite interesting and quite successful also because we had thematic groups. So we were able to have people talking to each other because they were working on the same subject. Of course, what we also have understood, it was a learning experience for all of us using the Moodle platform. So it was a question of knowing how to use the platform very well and to make it more user-friendly. Of course, COVID changed it all. Because many people, we asked people why they had stopped working, but we have understood that some people didn't have the right computer or didn't have the right connection at home to continue doing this. So we have these things which are also important to bear in mind, is that some people are willing, but still the rural digital divide still exists. And there is really something that we have to think about how we can then have maybe using mobile phones for these things, which is possible when we do the webinars, for example. So, and also it is a teamwork. We always say that this is a participatory process and you don't have to do it alone. And really, this course confirmed that. And I'm very pleased that we had Claire with us as an editor, because she really changed and helped people to really make their story interesting, and the graphic designer who is really highlighting the value of what has been documented and then able to share it. So frankly, we have more to learn. We are going to do our after action review soon. It's because we need to learn more. And also this is very important for the MOOC that we are going to have. So now we have talked a lot, and I would like for the next slide to open the question and answers. I think that you have been doing quite a lot of chatting. So we would like to hear from you now. I will let Daria lead the conversation.
All right then. Okay, so let's talk about it. You definitely have a lot of questions or comments. Now is the time to let it out.
So we have seen in the chat a few reactions, some people talking about being local, doing farmer field school. So maybe some of the people who made comments may raise their hand if they want to intervene.
We can also discuss in the group, Sophie, if nobody dares to speak up in front of everybody.
Yeah, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is I'm very willing to participate. I just don't find the how to in participants. I even don't see the hand right.
No, we can hear you.
Raise hand. No, it's okay. I will put the camera. So. Well, thank you very much. It was really interesting, Jorge. I really like your facilitating process. It's very very pleasant. I know I've gained several enemies here in FAO because I'm insisting that despite the current situation that we need to move to digitalization, we are getting farther and farther from the field. And I'm saying that as a veterinarian, as an animal production expert, and I feel that more and more is done in the classroom and less on the field. So I hear from Anne-Marie about 30 years of experience of FAO in farm and field scope. Yeah, but it's really focused maybe on horticulture or something like that, and in very specific areas. So we really need to go back to the field because, as you mentioned, Sophie, and I really like that when you advocate for this information, it's going back to the policymakers, and this is the perfect bottom-up approach which FAO needs to go, not to really be dragged by many governments and have a very top-down approach, imposing policies, etc. This is, in my opinion, the right way. Nevertheless, the main comment I wanted to make is that the main problem in this region, which I'm facing in animal production and animal health, is that the absence of advisory services or extension services whatsoever in all former Soviet Union countries. And this is a tremendous problem for us to implement the project. So I don't know who are the people that you mentioned, 600 something that participate in the training and 100 something Russian speaking. The problem is that they are not structured yet in a way that they will go to the farmer and teach him what he needs to be learned, what he needs to learn. The problem is that these people don't have the budget to go to the field, and the knowledge is staying in the office. The problem is they really don't have the money to organize a simple workshop on the field. They don't have the motivation because their salaries are so low that if they will go to the field, it's not going to help them much. These are the problems that we are facing every day, and as a result of that, we have very low capacity people in terms of knowledge on animal production and animal health in these countries. And I'm facing that practically every day. So I would like to know more about the participants and what is their capacity to go and deliver this knowledge or using this methodology to ensure very good delivery to the farmers, not just staying in the office with this knowledge. Thank you.
If I may answer, I think you're raising a very important point, which is how do we follow this? How do we make sure that all the analysis and all the efforts that we are doing do not stay just in a library or in a very nice article, but how do we bring it further, and how do we report and make sure that the lessons are used, which is the most important thing we want to achieve, I think. Of course, at the moment, we are facing a bit of difficulties. We cannot go to the field. We've been doing this online or so. But I think that the question goes, well, not just to us, to everybody. We have the stories, we have the lessons, or we can draw the lessons very well. Now, how do we go about it? What do we do? How do we make sure that the process continues, that that we have more capitalization processes, that it goes on and on, we involve more people? And how do we make sure that those lessons, as you were saying, go to the farmers or to the colleagues or to the professionals who need them or who want to put them into practice, and we make sure that we have better results in the field? No, that is a question. Now, that is a question we wanted to raise to everybody, not just, I don't know if we go to the groups already, but we wanted to do that.
There are people who would like to talk, Jorge. So
yes.
Sophia, maybe?
Sophia had raised her hand, yes.
I was one.
Sophie, because she said very well, when we are trained farmers, it is combination of classroom and practice on the field, because some of issue you don't need, for example, bookkeeping is not the matter what you can study on the field. But what I would like to add is that what you find now, because now you have not access to the field, we find that we are motivated to do more and more training materials as video materials, which other time you didn't make because you had the opportunity to go to the farm. And now you need the very qualitative video for training of farmers. That and also I agree with Michael that now the written materials are not so useful for farmers, because in internet they can find so many written materials, and video is really very valuable materials for training of farmers. And now you need to improve the quality, and maybe also not only for fact sheet or article, but you need also to prepare some methodology of some 10 top tips for how to make the really good video movie video film for farmers. Thank you.
May I add something? We have the same problem in Europe. Even if these farmers are so much equipped and so rich and so big, they just like it very much to look to videos. They don't like school classes, because some of them became farmers because they hate school classes. So that is why in our network, Nefertiti, which is the European network of demo farmers, we made a handbook how to produce your own videos, not only as an advisor or a researcher, but also as a farmer. And our experience in this big European network of demo farmers, demonstration farming, because we think this is the best way to learn, is that the best videos, they come from young farmers who just had an experience. They take their mobile phone and put a little video and ask others by interviewing them what you think about, and that is a real strong learning story. Let them do it.
Okay, can we have Sophia now talking, because she has raised her hand, and then it's Louis and then Nevena.
Okay, thank you. I would go back to Eran about the practical training. Frankly, I was the one who had the connection problems. I was using the mobile internet each time for the mentoring session. Why? Because I was in the field. And during all this time, because we were still working as extension service, and maybe I'm not one to make these assumptions, but the connection between FAO and extension service could work well, because we are as extensionists, we have to be in the field. And myself, the whole summer, I had to be there. About the digital connection, we developed all the possible channels for our farmers to connect, at least to take the decisions in the boards. We did some kind of trainings which were urgent to do. And we also, I will share, we produced some kind of videos explaining a couple of things, but still to be sustainable in the training results, we still have to go in the field, to the field anyway. And this summer as well, after all this lockdown, I had feedback from the farmers. Even we now work in the conflict zone in the east of Ukraine. And those farmers said that a lot of proposals came to them, like on the business planning, on the financial issues. But they are now actually very bored with these online things as well. We have to balance, because they feel that they don't connect with real people. So it shouldn't be this fatigue of being in the online all the time. Which they really maybe first time in their life experience through this summer. That's my feedback, and I was said that recently, and I still confirm that Aaron is very right. We have to go to the farm and go to the field. This is the connection which works the most efficient.
Great, thank you, Sophia. Can we ask Luis to share his comment or question now? Are you still with us, Luis?
Louis, c'est à vous. Let's take Nevena, and maybe we'll have Louis later. Nevena.
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nevena Alexandrova. I'm Agriculture Extension Officer at the FAO headquarters in Rome, but I worked 10 years for Europe and Central Asia, in Budapest. And I would like to take part in this very interesting discussion. So I definitely agree with the colleagues that said before me that we need to develop advisory services, and I would like to emphasize on the pluralistic advisory services that include many different actors, those traditional ones, wherever they are established or not in the country, but also university professors, the research that do on-farm research, or cooperatives, farm organizations that work with farmers, even lead farmers and peer-to-peer exchange. We all call this pluralistic advisory services. So I agree that we have to go more local, as local as possible, and this is actually an outcome of our discussions on the paper policy brief that our unit recently wrote related to COVID experiences that accelerated our understanding on what works well and what not so well in the current advisory system. What I cannot fully agree with Aaron is that there is no advisory services in ex-Soviet Union or Eastern Europe. There are always people or organizations that provide advice to farmers, including input suppliers, including veterinary services. What does miss in those countries is a coordinated approach, coordinated and well-governed approach to the system level of advisory services. And this is also very clear, and I work even now in several projects trying to strengthen this particular features. And why this is important when we talk about experience capitalization, because in my view, I'm looking at all those very useful experience documented. It shouldn't be just a one-time approach, producing a nice graphic designer product with quite a good knowledge inside, but it should be a systematic approach. And this systematic approach can be only ensured if we have very strong institutions, local institutions in place in the countries that include definitely the pluralistic advisory services, and also if it is well coordinated and governed, that also would promote capacity development for advisors and for farmers in a more systematic way. And in my view, documenting these experiences should be part of the curricula for farmers, I would say, but definitely for advisors. Thank you very much for this very interesting webinar. Over to you.
Shall we try Louis, if you're with us? Louis is still there, but maybe he doesn't hear us. Okay. So I will give now the floor to Jorge. we are going to move to our next way of doing things. Jorge.
Yes, actually, I like this discussion very much because we wanted to hear from them and not just make this a one-way presentation. We had thought of doing groups, but we also see that we are running a bit out of time. So if we have the next slide, we are not going to be doing breakout rooms, but I would like you to look at this question and to think a little bit. How would you apply the experience capitalization approach in your work? How would you put into practice the ideas that we are discussing right now? Just think for a few seconds. Bearing in mind your context, the area where you work, the office where you are in, the problems that you have, and the solutions you want to find out. Now you want to solve a few problems. You want to, as somebody was saying, you want to reach out to farmers. How would you put these ideas that we've been discussing into practice? I would like you to think for a few seconds, just to think of this, and then go to the chat. And we're going to do what is called a chat wave. So I would like you all to go into the chat, and I will count to 3. And when I say, sorry?
Yes, I think it's something important when we do this chat wave. It's important that everybody write as the right name, because some people still have either my name or what is your name. So it would be nice if people could rename themselves before you give the start sign to start the wave.
That's true, because some of you have Sophie Trainen as name. So you have to change that by clicking on the 3 dots, what's been mentioned a few times already, clicking on the 3 dots on top of your screen and make sure that you have your name, because otherwise the suggestions will all be coming from Sophie Trainen and not from you. So we want to make sure that we know who's writing what. So please do this. And then while you're thinking what you're going to be answering or saying, think of the question, how would you apply experience capitalization in your work? And I will count to 3. And then when I say 3, I would like everybody to go to the chat and to write it very quickly. Or you can start writing now, but don't press enter yet. Should we try that? So go to the chat, start typing. Remember, it has to be short, of course. It has to be concrete, but I think you can share some of the few ideas. How would you put this? Where would you focus? What would you be addressing? Perhaps who would you contact to get started? You have a lot of experts here in this room who have already been showing how to do it. What would you do concrete? Yes, are you all typing? So if you are all typing, I would like you to start pressing enter. 1, 2, 3, start pressing enter. And you will see in the chat a lot of great ideas popping up.
Maybe we can read some of them.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody was saying, use it in monitoring and evaluating poverty reduction processes. Or a more concrete idea, incorporate it in your annual work plan. Sophia wants to go to the producer cooperatives to share the evaluation and take feedback, which can be added into a next plan. You want to organize workshops with different stakeholders. And then, yeah, interesting, doing an after action review a bit more systematically, perhaps following some of these steps and tips that we've been sharing with you. Louis says he's going to have a meeting with colleagues and explain the importance of this process. Again, a very important thing, trying to convince your colleagues and make sure that they support you. Navina is already applying it, so she will have to write and share what the results are. Creating and using a project monitoring table. Yeah, that's a good one. And then sharing it with your colleagues, of course, and making sure that everybody joins and participates in the process. What else are we saying? Think of a potential problem, the solution, implement it, and seek feedback. Document it, sharing it in social media. Think of its institutionalization of it works. Yeah, Mahesh, you point at this important idea of getting feedback. So not just evaluating an experience out there, but also trying to see if what we're doing with experience capitalization is working or not. Also trying to understand if we're taking the right path. Good. Incorporate it in new project documents. That's a good idea to start from the beginning and making sure that we have the time and the resources for this approach. Yes, forming discussion groups with farmers and farmer field schools, of course, and using videos. That is also a good thing. Many of the products that we share, as you've seen here, are documents, but we can also produce videos and share them in the same way and make sure that more people read the lessons or get the lessons through a video. Good. Decided to use this practice for adding them to the work plan and recommend experience capitalization. Great. Now, thanks for this idea. Of course, you can continue adding more ideas on how we're going to be sharing this, how we are going to be adding it into your day-to-day work. And of course, it would be very interesting to hear how this is not just an idea, but how it is actually taking place in the coming months. So to hear from you and to see that you are actually running an experience capitalization process. Thank you. Back to you, Sophie.
Thank you very much. It was very nice to have this chat with. It's fantastic to have all the feedback so quickly. So what is next for us? This is the next slide. And we have had now your perspective on how you wish to implement this immediately in your work. We are also going to do this after action review for on the course, because we would like to convert this blended learning program into a massive online course, open and online course. And for that, we are counting on you who have been part of the course to provide your feedback. So I have put in the slide what is the on the platform. You have seen Daria has shown where you could find it. So we invite you to really to provide your feedback. We will, of course, continue the documentation of the case, and I count on you for sharing, because documenting is just one part of the whole process. And having something documented, if it's not shared, has absolutely no value. So this is quite important, and I invite you to also think about all the different ways we can share things. So we hope to have the MOOC available in 2021. And can you put back the previous slide, please, Valentin? And we are also thinking of enlarging it in French and Spanish, because GFRAS members are not only talking in English and Russian, but also other languages. And at least these two are UN languages, and we will try to see what we can do with that. We also are thinking ourselves of doing an article about this experience and what we have learned into a KM for Dev article. It's the journal. Actually, Jorge is the editor. KM is a knowledge management for development journal. And this is also a nice source of inspiration about all the work that you're doing and that we are doing together. And we would like to also use the chat for an evaluation of these webinar. Just a few words, whether you like it or you didn't like it, whether you think it was useful or not, what you appreciate more. So feel free to drop also a few feedback comments in the chat. And the next slide that we have prepared is a way to do a little recap of where you can find the course. The course is, of course, available as a self-paced learning on the FAO e-learning academy, and you have all the links there. The MOOC will be the URL that we are using for the blended learning course, but it will be changed somehow, and we hope that, I repeat, we get your feedback to be able to improve that. And as we have used the FAO template to document some of the cases that you have seen today, I'm also sharing with you this template in 4 languages. So this, with this, I would like then to give the floor also to GFRAS, because what we have done together, it was really to be able to embed this into GFRAS work. And so therefore, I hope that this has been very useful, and I look forward to continue working on this with all of you. So Carl or Ingrid, please join us for the closing. Thank you.
Carl is not yet back from the meeting, so well, I can once again just thank Sophie, the team, you know, Jorge, Daria, Valentin, everyone who's been working, Claire, FAO. From the GFRAS side, what we are doing at the moment is that we are working on our operational plan for the next 5 years. And a very important element of this plan is, you know, network and network management, knowledge management, and building the capacities within the networks for these experiences to be shared, because that's the whole nature. That's when we thrive. There is so much, you know, we are having our annual meeting this week, and there is so much going on in the different regions that sometimes at the Secretariat, we don't even hear about. So we know that there is a lot that can be improved in terms of processes of capturing experiences and sharing those experiences. So that's certainly something that we are working together and that we want to strengthen in the upcoming years. So that's part of the GFRAS interest also in being part of this side event and being a part of this process. All of this material that people are working on, that are capitalizing, all of these templates that they're working on with Claire and the team, they will also be available on the GFRAS website, on FAO website. We'll start uploading and we'll continue to do so. On the GFRAS website, if you go there, there is a section already for experience capitalization, where we talk about, you know, in general terms, what it is about, and this material will be available there. Also, the recording of today's session, we see that some people were not able to attend from the beginning, or also what Carl said, that in the different regions, it's maybe too early for some people in Central and Latin America, unfortunately, who would very much like to participate. So we will make sure that this is also available on the website, and you can consult when necessary. And thank to everyone, and everyone who's here, and everyone who's been working with us in that.
So thank you very much. I think that this gives us just 5 minutes to really have your feedback. So as we did the chat wave for how you want to use this, just take a few seconds to be constructive in your comments so that we can even improve for next time. Please share this with us. And I think that maybe this is also maybe the opportunity before we say bye-bye, because I know that Louis has been trying to say a few words. So Louis, if now you can activate your mic, and I give you the floor.
Yes, thank you. Finally, I'm very happy to see something.
Speak louder.
Yeah, I'm very happy to say something during this process. I have some difficulties, technical difficulties in participating in this process. Now, I am Louis Agboku from Benin Republic. I'm working on the field. I'm monitoring livestock farmers. So I have also a blog. I call it a mini blog, on which I follow online entrepreneurs, the livestock entrepreneurs. They used to call me remotely, and they cause me their problem, and I stay with them. I discuss with them to understand their problem, and finally I find them solution. Now, there's a question I asked during on the touch. My experience also was documented. Now I don't know. I want to know if it will be also documented as the one that we saw, because the one that we saw, I like them, is very well presented. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Louis. Louis is one of the case who is going to be also on digital agriculture and using basic digital tools, however, making an impact and trying to support farmers, especially during this COVID time when it had to be done with les moyens du bord, whatever you had to be in contact. So this will be capitalized. So I'm quite thankful because we were able to have people capitalizing on the theme of GFRAS annual meeting. It was the advisory services in this digital era. And we can do things at farm level with small tools. It doesn't have to be very complicated. And this is what we would like also to hear from people. So if there are more people who want to document, take the advantage. The course is still on until November. And we invite you to join us and to write into the chat. As Ingrid said, this meeting is recorded. It's going to be available afterwards on GFRAS and also on the platform and on FAO. And we will be pleased to share with you also the PowerPoint presentation. So you still have a few seconds to continue writing your feedback. Maybe Jorge and Daria as the team, and Valentin, you want to say just a few things before we leave?
I just want to say thank you. I think it was a very nice session. Thank you to all the people who agreed to share a few words with us. And thanks to all the participants, to all of you who've been here, and of course, thanks to the team who've been behind this. Thank you, Sophia, and everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much for all the patience that you had with us, for your dedication to work on your projects, to continue with the tests and all things like that. Thank you so much for being with us. It was a pleasure working with you.
Thank you very much.
Valentin behind the screen and behind the scene, because Valentin has been doing plenty of things while we were talking.
No, I just want to say thanks to everyone, as you guys already did. It was nice to see how dedicated our learners were and still are. So it's always a pleasure.
So I have a very good comment from Anne-Sophie. I'm going to put all the links in the chat before leaving so that you can have access to all of them. Some people were asking if I missed something, how can I join? So people like Marie-Aude, you will see that you can do the self-paced learning course. It's in the chat. And the big blended learning program that we have been doing, you need to write to us to have access to it. It will be open until November. So thank you very much to all of you. I'm very happy that you were able to stay until the end, and I hope that you will be able to take in experience capitalization into your work. And as we always say, you don't need to do everything at once, just start with small steps and you will see the big difference. So thank you very much again. And on behalf of GFRAS and FAO, I wish to see you again soon online with the cases and everything on the different websites. Thank you. Bye-bye to all.